Welcome to the Reds Reviews podcast brought to you by BossAction.com. And right now at BossAction, there's a $3 promo that is running all the way through the Super Bowl. It does include everything you could want in the paperhead market. $3 all the way through the Super Bowl. No reason not to check it out at BossAction.com. Now let's get on with the Red Show. Yo, what's going on, guys? How are you? It's Red. It's the time of the week again. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of recording real quick just to get some stuff out of the way, right? We're going to talk about the NFL, which, I'm looking at the NFC right now, and it's interesting to me because they're just, I don't know if the division's harder. I know that the NFC West is pretty tough with the Rams and the Seahawks, right? And actually the Cardinals, too. Cardinals, too, have been... if they had a little bit better of an O-line and a couple of changes on them, the Cardinals would be leading the NFC West right now, just because of the way that they've been playing outside on the offense anyway. So, Packers, NFC North 10-3, looking good. Nobody really that close to them in their division. They'll clinch that. NFC South 10-3, Saints. Buccaneers, if they win every game from here on out, they would be in there. Contesting for the top seed. Let's go to the AFC. AFC, Bills 10-3. It's amazing to me. They're doing so good this year. I love to see it. Honestly, I do. The Buffalo Bills have had a rough go for many, many years. And so for them to do good is always a good thing. Chiefs 12-1, still haven't lost to them. When the Steelers did lose a second game, which is not surprising. Once you break that streak, it does tend to get a little bit harder to maintain that kind of rhythm that they had going into this. Obviously, some other injuries and stuff too have kind of hindered their ability to keep that up. But the AFC South is looking a little bit tight. For the Titans and the Colts. Texans, Jaguars, not so much. 4-9, Jaguars 1-12. Titans, Colts. Those are the two that we're going to be watching for what's going to be the selection going into the final weeks here. The NFL's been a good watch this year. Not so much just because of all the differences that have been going on with the COVIDs and the struggles of the teams getting delayed and having some Tuesday games, some Wednesday games, some different stuff like that. But what I mean is that there's a shakeup. The Patriots for every year for literally 10 years were always the main point that everyone would talk about, right? They'd always talk about the Patriots. And now it's not so much. You got, the Chiefs are in there. You got the Bills in there. You got some Steeler action that we saw before. I mean, obviously but that's been a lot of years too when they were super hot when Big Ben first got drafted. It's amazing that guy has still been playing there for that long, right? And I appreciate seeing that too. Franchise guys, dude. Those are the kinds of people that we need in the United States right now. Franchise guys, people that stand by what they believe in and are actually that kind of person, when they're off the field too. Big Ben probably thinks about football off the field too. He's not some flash in the pan kind of guy. He's not somebody that's going to go home and be like, well, today I feel a little bit, political, so I'm not going to play, right? Like just a different breed, and that's why the NFL is something that we love, right? And I'm sure that there's still some out there. We've had our instances where people have done some kneeling and this and that, and it's been some stuff that's protesting, social injustice and what I'm talking about. The Colin Kaepernick situation that happened a few years ago. Well, it turns out he got a bunch of deals out of that anyway. So whatever social injustice he was feeling, I'm sure he got paychecks from Nike. He just got a new ice cream flavor from Ben & Jerry's. And if you want to talk about social injustice and the beauties of what capitalism was capable of providing for you as a human being, getting a contract from Ben & Jerry's and Nike are two of the best perks you can get. So, well, he's over there doing that stuff and reaping the benefits of that. Regular people in the NFL that are just grinding out, being happy to play, are doing just that. So we'll move on from there. We'll look at the facts of what the college basketball is going along. There's been some cancellations and things that have gone a little bit awry there, which is fine. But the fact that they're even playing through and a lot of these teams are actually expected to be able to have some kind of weird format of maybe a March Madness. I don't know if that's going to be a thing. judging by how things are going right now in the United States and California and New York and all the shutdowns that are happening there. It's going to knock a lot of teams out of contention if they're not allowed to go into their practice facilities. That's granted. This doesn't change after Christmas. Okay, so Christmas rolls around and all the lockdowns hopefully are lifted because what they're saying is that they're trying to control the amount of spread during the holidays because people go to their families and hang out and do what Governor Newsom did. Well, he was at his family's house. They just don't want everyone else to do that. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, they open up and it doesn't mess up the sports that bad. NBA is going to be rolling through, and I'm actually kind of excited about this. It will be still another weird asterisk season, apparently, depending upon how many games they can squeeze in through this. If there's a lot of cancellations, different problems. But man, this is the situation I was talked about with the Patriots and the NFL being the head of the pack for many years. If LeBron James doesn't retire and he continues to recruit guys who are going to work well with him along on the court, they will be them. The Lakers could do many things for a lot of years, and it's going to be something to watch. So let's talk a little bit about what the sheets have been doing. I do know that my sheet has been doing relatively well, and I'm not sure that everybody out there has had the same kind of luck with that. But I hope so. I hope that you've had the same kind of luck where I've had. I told you I had a guy that was beating me on money lines and coming in there and just laying lots of money because he was on house money. He had gotten up, and instead of doing what a lot of guys do and just keeping their same trend of betting, he switched to where he could lay a lot of money on a single money line game that he thought was for sure at least cover, and then take a little bit of winnings out of that because obviously he got to the point now where he's a little bit wary because some of those upsets have happened. Some of the games where people are moneyline bets, didn't end up panning out, and it does take a large chunk out of that guy's revenue. So it is a storm that you have to weather generally. If the guy is sharp, however, do not weather that storm. Cut him. Do not play that game because honestly, if a guy is sharp, and we have a full sharp check here that I've used before with paperhead.com. I have actually written in and said, hey, can you guys look at this guy's wagers for me and compare him to the rest of the database that they have available? And it turns out their database is immense. They have a lot of people that they have been either deemed sharp or have had struggles with, or if they're prop bettors, or if there is any kind of comparison along those lines of somebody who has been sharp. And it turns out this guy, my guy, was not. He's not a complete sharp, taking steam hits and going in there and betting lines, trying to get the best value out of me. And that's good to know. It's good to know that I could have rested easy. Obviously, it was still a sweat for a couple of weeks because I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, this guy is raking. But yeah, this guy was raking, right? So anyway, moving on from that whole perspective, as long as you guys are doing all right, I know that during those time frames, the only thing that was actually making me money is all the casino and live dealer and everything else that I've had running externally, live wagering. None of the pregame at that moment in those weeks actually was generating money. It was only the extra stuff that was keeping me in the positive to help balance the sheet. And that's the important part about all of this. Okay, so when I originally started, I was only interested in the pregame stuff. I was only interested in doing a very minimal launch, right? And now with everything that I have the ability to do, and I haven't met a couple of guys that are far away from me a long time because of the APS, and having the cashier on their website, and granted, when it comes to actually sending the money back to them, it is still something that I'm a little wary of doing, but at the same time, they can get in there and deposit and basically pay me on the losing weeks. And fortunately enough, the guys that are out in the boonies aren't generally as sharp as the ones that are in the city centros, and yeah, I think my point in saying any of that is just that if I can have any kind of like recommendations or things for people to look at in general, it's always going to be how much are you riding on the fact that people are going to lose versus how much are you riding on the juice. because the more volume, the better your story will be, and hopefully the juice will end up balancing you out in the long run, and or the other things such as casino and so forth. So, and as this time approaches right now, it's going to be tons of action. So the casino and the live dealers and all those might take a little bit of a hit on the volume usages and all that, because they're going to have stuff to play regardless. But again, as time progresses, I can't stress how much of a relief it was to watch the sheet and see actual money coming in still, even though I was getting beat on the pregame wagerings. So I think we'll cut it there, and I hope you guys have a great week. The player props that were released a week ago are doing pretty good for me. Some of the guys, they started out using it a lot, and I think that maybe over the weekend we'll see some more pickup on that, and just they were a little bit cautious on it, just to see what was going to be available for them. And I'll let you guys know how it goes. But I do know that it's another volume increase for me for those new props that are available. I hope the odds are always in your favor, and we'll be seeing you. Thanks for tuning in to the Reds Reviews podcast, brought to you by BossAction.com. Opinions expressed on this show are not the opinions of BossAction.com. And again, any promos or relative information about this company, please check them out at BossAction.com. And we'll see you next week. We hope you have a great one, and thank you for tuning in.